Good morning, good morning. It is Wednesday, June the 17th, and I am out walking my dog in my high vis and talking about education. This is Simon Lewis from onshaw.net. If you are interested in listening to these podcasts or videos rather than watching them, and I wouldn't blame you if you did, you can go to your favourite podcasting platform and search for Walking the Dog in a High Vis or onshaw.net, where you can listen to my 7 to 8 minute rants in the morning on different issues in primary education. Today I'm focusing back on the convention, or the unconvention, and in the unconvention, this theme that we're focusing on at the moment is special education. But one of the questions that came up last night was, are special classes the answer? So are special classes the answer is what I want to explore, and so far, based on about the last 12 hours, the overwhelming suggestion is no. And unfortunately, most of the answers were simply the single word no. So I'm really interested in whether that was people late at night being a bit narky by the end of the year and saying they just don't work, or not that they don't work, but there may not be the answer, and what are they the answer to, some people might ask. So there's loads of questions coming from that. So if you have answered no to that question, I would love for you to expand on that question. As usual, there's I have a particular principal who likes to say one size does not fit all. So I'd be really interested in the research around special classes. And effectively, this is what I'm getting to, is, are we the only country in the world that has special classes for autism? Or are there other countries that have done it? Have they done it because of us? Have they done it parallel to us without us kind of looking at things? And then what is the idea behind them? What are their advantages? What are their disadvantages? Now, I do know there is research out there on special classes, and one in particular, which I'll try and find the link to, was very critical of them, and they say that they actually lead to a segregationist model for schooling, so that you have your mainstream classes and you have your special classes, and in their research, more often than not, they didn't create an inclusive atmosphere in the school, that they were quite separate, and anything that was considered inclusive was really tokenistic, which is kind of an interesting point. I wonder if there's any merit to that. I do know that we have special classes where there's a lot of what we call integration. Is that actually inclusive integration? I wonder. And then is reverse integration, where children from mainstream settings visit the special classes, is that an inclusive practice? These are kind of questions that I want you to ponder on, because I think one of the government's sort of plan when it comes to special education, particularly autism, I think that there's again another argument and another thread to come from here is, why are there, is there over 1,000 special classes for autism and let's say none for other diagnoses? We have for emotional behaviour classes, is there 8 in the entire country? Maybe not even that. Reading classes, again, we've talked about this before. How many of them are there? And why is it overwhelmingly autism? Which is it's not a criticism, it's a question. And do they suit the autistic community more so than other diagnoses out there? It's just, again, a question. Again, and this is maybe a little bit controversial, and I'm only asking it as a question. I'm not saying it because I believe any of this. My job really for the unconvention is to ask deep and challenging questions. Does the model work if we have children who, and again, I'm using these words because they were traditionally used, I know you're not supposed to use these words anymore, but words like mild or profound, and is there, so does a class work if you have a child who would have been considered mild diagnosis of autism back in the day, and then somebody with severe profound autism at work, does the same resources work? Because again, if you look into a class, 6 children, 1 teacher, 2 adults, sometimes a third if you are above CERC, and that's SERC. I've actually forgotten what that stands for, but I remember it being kind of funny that they could have just said what it was. So like, these are massive questions. So I feel, we need a good bit of chat around special classes. It isn't as simple as, do they work? Are they the answer? It's, what are they for? Who are they for? How do they work best? If they work best, because do we have research on them working best? Do we have the voices of those who've been in these classes and how they worked for them or not? I mean, look, as you can see, I'm only 6 minutes talking here, and I think I've asked about 20 different questions, none of which I have the answers to. So I feel this is something that we need to ask. We need to keep asking and going deep. As I said, the government's policy really essentially is to open as many of these classes as possible. But I don't think there's been any thought as to whether they're effective, useful, and so on. And maybe my I'm going to call her my thorn in my side, who just answers most questions with one size does not fit all. Maybe, is she right? I don't know. That is definitely not a possibility. Though I do think if you say one size does not fit all, you do have to expand on things. You can't just have that as educational theory. That's just me kind of arguing again with her. Anyway, they are my thoughts on this. Most of them are not thoughts, they're questions. So I hope you do take some time, think about it. If you are a teacher in a special class, what works, what doesn't work? If you've ever taught in one, what works, what doesn't work? If you've ever been in one, what works, what doesn't work? And if you're somebody who thinks they don't work at all, I'd love to hear from you. Sometimes it can be hard being the dissenter when something is just decided as the solution. Sometimes, if you are in the minority on any kind of viewpoint, it can be hard to step up and argue a case. I'm hoping the Unconvention gives us that space where we can have respectful dialogue. I think so far we've managed that really, really well, and we can continue doing that. So thank you very much for watching our video today, or my video today. I'm speaking in the royal we here, and I look forward to chatting to you again, and we might continue this conversation tomorrow. See you later, bye.